welcome back to the Solo Pod, where today I'm psyched to drop some news for you guys. Your 20s, they're supposed to suck. Everyone who says your 20s are supposed to be amazing, live it up, you'll never get those years back, blah, 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 like, they're all doing it wrong. Like, I'm sorry, I don't agree. They're supposed to suck. That's just a complete lie. Like, nothing about that literally makes any sense. You don't know what you're doing in your career. You're trying to discover yourself. You're trying to figure out what you're good at. Who the heck are your friends? Because you had friends in college and now we've all moved to different cities. Now you have coworkers, but are they really your friends? And it's not like you're really like secure in your job anyway. So before you know it, you could get laid off or you go somewhere else and then they're not your friends anymore. Should we even talk about like relationship status? Like, we're trying to find our partner in our 20s. Like, the whole thing is also a shit show. That doesn't help. That doesn't add to like all the turmoil we feel in our life in terms of our career and like trying to discover ourselves. Also, like, we don't have no money. Like, we have no money. We have no stability. We're trying to build our financial wealth. We're trying to understand money. Like, I remember when I got my first paycheck, I like went to my dad and I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I don't even know what this number means. Like, is this big? Is this small? Like, why did all of it go away to the government? Like, I don't get it. No one teaches this stuff to us. Like, it's so brand new. You're telling me we have to go through it all at the same time, and we have to somehow try to figure out how to be successful, how to make money, how to figure out all these things as it has to do in context with all the relationships in our life. Like, that's supposed to be the best time of your life. I don't understand that. There's this whole concept, I'm sure you've heard of it, called the defining decade, and I feel like that is a much more accurate way to describe our 20s. They're not supposed to be this like romanticized perfect experience where we like go and party and everything makes sense and we're so secure and confident and we start our new grad life in a new city with this perfect job that we never change, we never move out, we never grow up. Like, that's not true. In our 20s, we're moving like a million times. We're moving different jobs, we're doing different apartments. I literally have completely different friends this year than I did last year, because last year I had a job and I had no idea what business I wanted to build, and now I'm building a company, and now I guess in some ways I'm an influencer because I create content. None of my old friends' values match up with mine. Like, I'm a literal completely different person, and if I wasn't a different person than I was last year, then that's embarrassing because that means I didn't grow. Like, anyone who says your 20s are the best years of your life, it's embarrassing that they're saying that. It's like the classic, like, you peaked too early. And the reality of the situation is the 20s are your defining decade, because what you do in your 20s is really what determines what you do in your 30s, what you do in your 40s, and how that experience is going to be like. Like, are you going to be living in a shitty house or your dream house? How could you possibly secure yourself later on in life? Like, we have to secure ourselves now. Do you want to be like 30, like hating your job and like having a crisis? Oh, I hate my job. I'm getting paid poorly, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Like, we want to enter our 30s literally loving our life, loving our job, loving our partner, like loving the home we live in. And then we want to enter our 40s richer and smarter and understanding so much more about ourselves. And then we want to go into our 50s, and that should be our prime because we have so many years on the planet. Like, I don't know why we twist this all around. At the end of the day, like, if you think about it, if you are miserable, if you are confused, if you're lost, if you're trying so hard you're not seeing results, if you're grinding every single day and you feel tired and you feel like lethargic and you feel sad and depressed because you're confused, great, perfect. It means you're actually challenging yourself every day. It means you're open to pushing yourself, and actually you actually want more for yourself. That's a great sign. And the fact that you're not just like running around wasting those years like partying, because you're actually doing the hard thing of trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose is on the world, and you're trying to really figure out like how you can optimize and build your life financially so that you don't have to worry about money when you're older, so that you can build your dream family and like have all the dreams that you've wanted your entire life. Like, that's phenomenal. It means you're actually trying and you care. That's kind of why I always say, like, you have to do the unsexy thing early in your career to go and actually have that like sexy career later on. Like, if you want that high paying job with like work-life balance, well, you gotta have to first do the job that doesn't have that work-life balance. And if you want that business that like runs passively and like makes you money in your sleep, well, sorry, that takes like several years of hustling and grinding to build the foundation of that business. So like 10 years from now, you have that passively running. And if it's your dream to be an investor or philanthropist and to give back, well, Sorry, you gotta be rich to do that. That's like a rich person thing. You can't just like wake up one day and decide that you want to like give your money away. You need to have money for that. And if you want the husband who's like smart and rich and successful and like have that power couple dynamic, well, you also kind of have to be smart and rich and successful yourself for your partner to actually respect you, for you guys to actually have a very connected relationship. You can marry someone who's like much richer and like much more well off than you, but he's never going to respect you. I'm sorry if you think there's a possibility where this man is going to fully 100% authentically respect you. He never will. You will forever be seen in his eyes as his dependent. So if you actually want to build that like nurturing relationship with a man who is intellectual and wealthy and like can provide and support you and you guys can build those dream lives together, well, you need to come with something as well. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I just feel like I had like a burning rage. I feel like a lot of people have been saying recently, like, oh my God, like I'm so upset. I'm working so hard. Like I didn't expect to graduate college and for it to be harder. And I'm kind of like looking at them like, I don't know. I can't sit in this like pity party with you. Like I can't feel sorry for you because your only reason you're jealous of my life and you want my things is because like you weren't with me when I was crying and when I was not sleeping, when I was alone with no friends. Like you weren't there with me. You're seeing my life on social media now of all the things I have, but I earned it. I earned it blood, sweat, and tears. And social media is so fake. Like when I post all these like travel experiences or when I post all this fancy stuff, like first of all, that is my highlight reel. That is 10% of my life. And it has come from like 10 years of trying to build that life for myself that I can go and do that. But at the end of the day, considering that's 10% of my highlight reel, guess what I'm doing 90% of the time? I'm like working. I'm sitting on my laptop, hunched over, breaking my back, like ruining my eyes, grinding, slaving, because I want to live my dream life in my 30s. And what I have right now, it's not the dream life. Like I want a lot more. So I don't want to go like into this like any longer. I think you get the general gist here. So let's talk about how do we actually go through our 20s without burning out and actually use that time effectively and efficiently to get all of our goals. And most importantly, really build that foundational leverage so that you are constantly building upon yourself rather than running in circles. We want to be moving upwards and onwards, not like a little bit there and a little bit there. So like we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And what I'm about to share with you is a strategy that not only like helps you avoid burnout on a day-to-day basis, but really unlocks your full potential and is going to be something that really gives you the energy to do so much. I am 26 right now, and I've already had 3 careers. I was an engineer. I was a product manager. I built software. I built a venture-backed company for a bit too. I'm now building a media company. Like I'm 26, I've done all of this. That includes several years of me just living in New York City, living in SF, living my best life, 90% of my time going out, having the best time, spending my money. Now you want to ask me like, how were you able to literally live this like dual life and have all these careers and also have several years of your life fully dedicated and optimized to socializing and having fun? And I feel like that's really, really critical to bring into this, because the reason why people say, oh, your 20s are your best time, because that's really where, when you're in a new city, when you're, meeting new people, that you're kind of in this like very vulnerable and discovering stage of your life where the rewards you get from those, like the newness, the novelty is like quite exciting. And you don't want to be working so hard where you actually strip yourself of that, because if you do, it's going to be 100 times harder to show up for your work, to show up for your personal development. I can sit here today and drop 100 hours of my time into work and grind and feel nothing because I don't have any FOMO of any other 20-something running around a city and going out, because I did that. I did that to my max. I'm not even interested in that anymore because I saw it all, I did it all. So it's really important that you're not just grinding away, but you're also socializing and you're experiencing life as a 20-something. And so we're really going to talk about like the strategy of how you can really do both and maximize, because all of that actually increases your efficiency for how you show up for your work and for yourself. Like if you're sitting here and like having regrets all the time about what you're not doing, and if you're constantly feeling anxious and FOMO of like your friends, like I'm telling you, no amount of focus is going to get you your goals. So you need to create a life where you're not feeling that way. When I was in college, I wanted to be a product manager. That was something that I really, really was focused on. And it was very much a dream for me to have that as my first job. And the number one feedback that recruiters gave me was that you're not an engineer, you're not technical, you can't get this job. And I was very much in this mentality and really focusing on life with the strategy at that point. So I was like, okay, what is the fastest way I can get technical experience? What is the most legit way where no one will ever question me for being not technical enough? So I literally enrolled in all the intro CS classes. This was my junior year, first semester. And I started interview prepping crazy. Literally every waking, breathing second of the day, I was teaching myself how to code. Because I was like, if I get a big tech software engineering internship on my resume, even if I don't have a computer science major, how could they possibly say I'm not technical? How could they possibly say I'm not an engineer? If I literally have a proof point of one of the biggest tech companies in the world wants to hire me and trust me to write their code for millions of users. I was like, okay, well, gotta go do that now. And I spent 4 months of my life where every waking, breathing second I coded, and I ended up landing a job at LinkedIn. Very much gave me the credibility and clout that I, even sitting in this room today, can use in this podcast episode. Why? Because 4 months of my life, I just tunnel vision focused. I cut everything out of my life. For one season, I did nothing but that. I literally lost my friends. My boyfriend at the time asked me if we were still dating. He wasn't sure because I was so MIA. I'm pretty sure I was not sleeping. I was eating like shit. I was in these gross dungeony libraries on campus. I was literally, all my free time was dedicated to office hours. Please help me figure out how to solve this problem. I literally don't know how to code out here. And I was flying every weekend to on-site interviews. So I was also not here on the weekends to recharge. Oh, let me tell you, after those 4 months, after I got that job, I burnt the heck out. I was burnt out, but guess what? I had that opportunity. I literally never in my entire life need to prove again to anyone that I am technical because I have that. I just now need to take what I know and show up to the internship. And I'm explaining this context, this is really for someone whose goal is not to be an engineer. What am I doing? I'm building leverage. I'm doing a very unsexy thing, something that I did not feel like I wanted to do, to build leverage and build a foundational that's going to open a ton of doors for me in the future. Not only did it help me land my PM job, but when I was raising money for my company, back when I was building tech, every VC would ask me, who is your technical co-founder? And I would literally say, I don't need one. What do you mean? I literally worked at a tech company as an engineer. I understand how to build. And instantly the vibes in the room would change. They never asked me that question again, and they would give me money. I spent a lot of the times in startup spaces with other tech founders, and oftentimes mostly men, we all know the vibes here. And they kind of see me at first glance and they're like, okay, influencer, whatever, brush me off, don't respect me. And within 1 minute of talking, I am speaking very technically and they understand that I have been an engineer before, and they instantly change their entire perspective about me. They instantly respect me. They're like, oh, she's an engineer and she creates content. It's more of an and wow than it is she is just this. And she can speak my language. She's at my level. I'm officially a peer. And having people perceive you as a peer is so incredibly important in your career because that respect is really what opens doors. So I built that respect really early on in my career that I can leverage to the end of time. Same with product management. I worked so hard. I think it was July of my internship. I started prepping for product management interviews. And I think a few months later of effectively, I would say doing 3 to 5 mock interview with other people around the world. I'm not saying stare in the mirror and do a mock interview. I'm scheduling meetings with random people to get feedback and doing 3 to 5 mock interviews every single day for months. I had no life. I would feel nauseous at the end of my day. But guess what? In a few months, I landed a 6-figure product management job. Only one person was hired at the company. That was me. It was an incredibly competitive role. Only a few companies even had the role. And not only did I start my life as a new grad with money to leverage, but I started my new grad life with a lot of respect going in, and only literally within a few months of my job, because it was my dream job. And when you are passionate about a subject and when you're excited about something, you can learn it pretty fast because you're excited to show up every day and learn it. I became really good, and I ended up then, not only did I have the work-life balance and creativity and autonomy that it needed to really develop myself into like a much better leader, but now that I had really figured out and mastered my job, all of a sudden I not only had that work-life balance, but I also had the extra time outside of my job and the extra financial resources to go move to New York City and live my greatest life and spend a bunch of money and go to a restaurant every single day and literally be a tourist for 2 years with like no concern in the world. Why? Because I had this like incredible job that set me up to do that. You know, not only just in terms of financially, but also the hours and the flexibility, because it was like one of those flexible big tech roles that I worked really, really hard for. And again, what did it do? It really set me up to get a lot of that socialization and that novelty of moving to new cities when you're like a young adult out of my system. So when I did quit my job to start a company, I had so much stamina that I wasn't going to fail, because I was literally going to beat my competition simply by the fact that I was going to show up and have the most energy every single day. Because while other founders are like contemplating on a Friday night if they should go out or not, I'm like, I'm not going out. I've done that 100 times. I have like no interest, literally no interest. That is for sure a big reason why I'm winning today. Moral of the story, like, you don't need to grind endlessly in your career. In fact, doing so burns you out and doesn't set you up for success, and you're less likely to achieve your goals. You're going to lose your effectiveness pretty fast. So instead, what you want to do is you want to live your life in seasons, right? Like, you want to operate in 4-month sprints. And the reality of the situation is anything that has brand name, clout, leverage, anything that, you know, has financial upside or like has work-life balance or like gives you this like life, has a lot of competition. Like, everyone wants it, and it becomes that much harder to get. Anything that like you're excited about, any sort of goal you have, any sort of lifestyle you want, trust me, there are millions of other people who want that too. Like, you're not the only one who wants it. And so how are you going to be the top 1% and beat out your competition unless you literally work harder than every single other person? You know, I don't believe in like you are born with talent or born with IQ. No, the person who tries the hardest wins. That's like rule of life. Like, I'm not even gonna explain that. Whoever tries the hardest wins. That's like literally the rule of life. Like, I believe that so deeply. So just be the person who tries the hardest. You will always win. So sprint for a bit, take a break. Sprint for a bit, take a break. That's kind of how I've lived my life. And that's how I've gotten all these different careers, have built all these companies, and still run around all these cities like a 20-something girl does, going to the Instagrammable coffee shops for multiple hours and taking cute pics and like not having care in the world. Like, if you want that, you can do that. Just do that for a season and then go back to your life. Go back to really shooting for these goals that are hard, that most people don't know this hack. They're not doing. You for sure are going to approach this goal with so much more stamina than they will, because they didn't take a break last season. And you're going to come into this season with so much to give. And yeah, you're going to have to sacrifice so much in that season. How can that not be worth it to unlock and open a door that could set the trajectory for the rest of your career, could get you your dream life? Like, how is that not worth it? And maybe you don't want to be an engineer, maybe you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but for every career, there is at least one main foundational hard thing that you have to get that opens doors up for the rest of the opportunities that are going to exist in that space. And the reality of the situation is you can only build more and more leverage, right? If I build a big enough audience, and let's say I go build another company in the future, none of that time is a waste. I am just building more leverage, more foundation for me to go do bigger and better things in the future. The fact that I was an engineer and product manager in big tech and will never go back to corporate or do those roles ever again doesn't mean that that was a waste of time. Like, that gives me credibility in every room I walk into. People understand when things are hard to get. People understand. They understand hard things. So simply by saying I did X gives you that credibility of like, she has a hard work ethic, she can get hard things, she's definitely top 1%, and you have so much more leverage to be trusted across all these other things you want to explore in your life. I can basically at this point go into any industry, technical or non-technical, creative or not creative, and walk into that room with credibility, because I've allowed myself to really open so many doors to so many industries with this season approach. And the reality of the situation is, throughout this entire time, I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I was so confused. So what was I doing? I'm optimizing for optionality. I'm like, okay, open that door, open that door, open that door. Great. Now they're all open. Let me sit back and relax. What do I want? Let me walk through all of them. Let me like feel it out. Let me explore. Let me discover. I want to be 30, like living my dream life, doing my passion and making a shit ton of money. So yeah, I need the optionality to go and decide that. But at the same time, I want to like be happy and like have fun, you know? So how you open those doors is like really most effective when you're giving in your all, when you're sacrificing a lot of things, and you gotta have to do that in short sprints. There's really no better time to hustle than in your 20s, because then you get to unlock so much in your 30s and 40s and really like have a future where you can reap rewards of all that foundation that you brought in early in your career when you were in your 20s, when you really had the energy to hustle and you didn't have the dependence, and you could really give it the time and space you need to build that. And the reality situation is, when you go have kids, when you go have that family, when you have so many more responsibilities in life and you can't ever give a full season ignoring everything in your life to something, that's okay, because you have already opened the doors that you need to be successful and like ride off that momentum like into your future. Literally kick your ass in your 20s. It's going to unlock so much in your life. You're going to live better and better life every single year if you hustle now. Live your life in seasons, live your career in seasons, and you're going to unlock everything. I'm so excited for you guys. Let me know if you guys try out this strategy. DM me anytime on Instagram. I'll always reply.